Now, we have the master of NCAA football joining us on a Monday morning. I love hearing our guy Teddy Covers' early looks on this card and breaking it down with you. We already have Matt Randall's early looks, and we're going to be breaking that down as well. Please give a big shout out and love to our first guest of the week on Betting with the Bag, none other than Teddy Covers from Las Vegas, Nevada. Teddy, how are you doing Monday morning?
I'm doing lousy, Jimmy. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. I'm very thankful MLB's over and very excited about NHL, but I do not like hearing that you're doing lousy. Teddy Covers, what's going on? What's upsetting?
I had a bad day yesterday, and I'm frustrated about Saturday. I mean, I pushed out on Saturday, and I'm frustrated because I ended up, in my opinion, throwing out too many winners and keeping losers. And that was and I had the same kind of Saturday that you had last week where I won early and then I gave it all back late, and that always stinks. And then I stunk up the joint yesterday, and again, it was like the winners are right here in front of me. I have them. All I got to do is bet them and not bet stupid teams like the Falcons. So I'm a little bit frustrated on a Monday morning. But you know what happens when I'm pissed off? I mean, honestly, it's probably a good thing. I tend to work better when I'm angry. You know, I don't know what it is. Sometimes it takes, I always do that slap in the face thing, but that tends to work for me. And I am pissed off this Monday morning. I feel like I should have made a bunch of money last weekend and I didn't. And, what do? You don't get mad at the teams. I don't get mad at the teams. I don't get mad at the coaches. I don't get mad at the quarterbacks. I made the decisions as to who I'm going to bet on. I'm mad at myself. And when I'm mad at myself, you know what I do? I work harder. So that's the situation I'm in on a Monday morning. I did a bunch of work yesterday in college football. I'm ready for any questions you got today, my friend.
This is what it is about with honesty and transparency, and it's not like we're going to have 17 straight strong weeks in football. It's going to be ups and downs, and the anger sort of breeds sharpness. You start, being tighter with your actions. So I'm excited. I think we're going to have a big week. At least for me, I'm not going to have MLB holding me back. And what I'm going to have is the excitement from the start of NHL. And I think this all breeds winners. Let's start, Teddy, with the Monday Nighter. Now, it's become so apparent, some of the mistakes that I make. And for me, I've got to pounce when the time is right with a market move. And I'm starting to get better at that with your help, with Jin Rummy's help, with the chat's help. And I did that tonight, and I feel very confident. I waited. I got the Steelers at -3. I pounced on the Steelers at -3. I've been higher on the Steelers than a lot of my colleagues. I think this is a football team that could actually come back a bit in the North race. I truly believe that. I think that pickup of Minkah Fitzpatrick makes this defense deadly. I think Mason Rudolph gets more comfortable every game. I understand some mentality, some thoughts saying, look, the Steelers team just lost the game. They should have won San Francisco. That's a bet against spot. I think that the Bengals are the perfect spot to get your first win on the board. It opened at 4.5. I got it at 3. It's now at 3.5. I'm high on these Steelers, and I see so many people on the Bengals, and that's the only reason why I got the 3. So I believe in the Steelers smashing, like always, this Bengals team that they've beaten, 11 out of their last 12, 8 straight, come into Heinz Field, and I'm getting 3 points. I'm on the Steelers tonight, Teddy. Do you have a move on the Monday Nighter?
Yeah, I really hope you push because I got Cincy +4 in my pocket. And the concept for me is very, very simple. Pittsburgh can't be laying. They certainly can't be laying more than a field goal. You say they should have won last week in San Fran. I say there's a team that forced 6 turnovers and didn't win. Pittsburgh can't run and they can't stop the run. Mason Rudolph, we saw him. And again, we've seen Mason Rudolph in the preseason. We saw him at Oklahoma State. He's a kid with a lot of moxie. I never looked at Mason Rudolph at any point in college or in the preseason or last week and go, yeah, this guy's going to take over for Big Ben. He's not. He's a second-tier backup. So you have a team that can't run and can't throw, and they're laying more than a field goal. And, it's their season. Sure. It was their season last week. I can't lay with Pittsburgh. I just can't do it. That team's not a team I'm comfortable laying points with. So it's a sincere pass a priori for me. And look, we've seen this Bengals team, these Bungles, and look, I'm not yet a Zach Taylor fan by any stretch of the imagination, but we've seen them go on the road and play well twice. We saw them give Seattle everything they can handle. We saw them play Buffalo tighter than every bit as well as the Patriots played against them yesterday. So we've seen this team show already a little bit of moxie on the highway, and I thought 4 was too many. So I'm on the other side of you than this one, Jimmy. And let's root for again a 3-point Steelers win. I cash my ticket, you push, no harm, no foul, right?
I tell you what, if there's one rushing attack that does not concern me, it's Mixon running behind these bartenders that can't do anything, can't open any holes for him, can't do anything. So I hear what you're saying about not stopping the run in certain situations. You want a Steelers team look like they can stop the run, go up against the Bengals offensive line. I know that there's no Marvin Lewis anymore, but we've seen this script. And I understand that Mason Rudolph, there's a lot of different ways to judge him, and he's not maybe in the future he could possibly be a starting quarterback. He certainly is not one now. But they just need a little momentum. And there's a lot of different things you could say about Big Ben. I'm not entirely sure what he does in that locker room. I can't say that, he's a cancer or he's a big team guy. I don't know. I don't really know. But what I do know is that when you're 0-3, you get to play against a foe that you know that you can beat, and you do it year after year after year after year. You need to build confidence as a group. You know your head coach's job is on the line. I look at this defense with the addition of Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think that was a tough spot. And I'm not saying this is an easy spot, but that was a tough spot for Mason last week. Traveling across the country against a very formidable defense. I really think waiting till 3. I understand why you jumped on it at 4. But for me, taking the Steelers -3, I have a lot of confidence in them taking care of business here at home. I'm excited about the game. Teddy, we've seen this total go from 43.5 up to 45 or 45.5. What do you think about this total? Is there an angle?
So hang on a second, because they played 2 of the same 3 opponents. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. They both played Seattle already. They both played San Fran already. I'll make the case that the Bengals were better against those 2 teams than the Steelers were. So we've got multiple common opponents. So total-wise, I'm not surprised that we're seeing over money. Again, this is the only game tonight. Baseball's done. Baseball doesn't, the playoffs don't pick up till tomorrow. There's no hockey, not yet. There's no basketball yet. This is literally one of these nights where there's only one game for everyone to bet on. And that means what they're going to bet. They're going to bet the over, especially after last night's game was an under, way under defensive scrum. You can anticipate the over money coming in. I think Cincy's going to get theirs. I'm not convinced it's going to be a shootout, but you talked about their inability to run the football. They can throw the football. And that tends to be good for over bettors. But again, it's not something that I play, nothing I'm close to playing. So it's, I understand the market move, but I'm not getting involved in it.
I hear that. I do think, the common opponents, we've heard you talk about it in college football, is not something that you read too much into. And
agree.
With NFL, I know it's a little different, but when you talk about a team that had Big Ben as their starting quarterback, and it sounds like everybody knew about these elbow issues for a while. And so if your own teammates know that your quarterback does not have an arm, then you're probably disenfranchised a little bit with the expectation level of what you guys are going to do. And knowing that you have this kid who's learning and can be better, I feel like it's difficult with the first 3 games of the year. Only that Niners game really is the one that but even that, totally different situations with. So I hear what you're saying, and I'm very excited about this game. Teddy, we're going to be live betting this game here at SBR. We had so much fun when we did it last week, so I will be sitting beside Flash at Natalie Rydstrom House. I will be doing that live. We'll have Jay from the Sports Keg and Al from the Sports Keg and Maxwell Smart from the Sports Keg. Taryn Russell says, you reaching, Jimmy. I'm not. I am extremely confident in the Steelers at home at -3, Taryn. I don't feel like this is a reach any form of the imagination. I can't believe that I'm getting a Steelers team that's adding Minkah Fitzpatrick, and now it's his second game. I mean, Minkah Fitzpatrick, what did he allowed not one touchdown all year on him last year? I have to go over those numbers again. I had them ready a couple weeks ago, but I feel like this is a spot where black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. But it's not comfortable being on the other side of Teddy. It does give me a tiny bit of comfort that he's on it at 4, which makes sense. And I got it at 3. And my guy Andrew says this is the same old Steelers. I don't know. I hear that. Bad coaching, strong defense, strong offensive line. We'll see. Let's not hum a haw. We got lots of work to do on this NCAA football card, and I will be thinking about you throughout the game, Teddy. It's not a comfortable spot to be on the other side of you, and I'm excited. Senka says Pittsburgh in under lock. A lot of people saying under. Teddy, do you think because it's the only game on the card that this could go up to 46 or something like that? If you want the under, should you wait?
I don't think it's going to go through the roof. I wouldn't talk you out of bed. If you like the under, I wouldn't talk you about it getting in the window right now. We've already seen the market move, and what we're more likely to see is some kind of a buyback at this stage. Let me look at it just right now and look at the leading indicator real quick.
Oh, wow, we've seen buyback already.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wouldn't be waiting for a 46. It's not going to get there.
Yeah, no, you're right. I just saw that as well. We've seen buyback. All right, let's get to work. This process that we are doing in NCAA football, I'm enjoying immensely. I love it so much. And I love as different cappers start bringing in their action. I love pitching it to Teddy to get started. I love seeing what Teddy's first looks are on this card. And Teddy, we have our very own Matt Randall, whose college taint play of the day was the under in Boston College Wake. And I jumped on that as well. So I was very thankful for it. And he's already brought in his first looks on this card. Teddy, do you mind if we start with me pitching you Matt Randall's first looks, and then we'll go into some of your first looks?
Oh yeah, no problem at all, Jimmy. I mean, I'll again on a Monday morning, this is what I've done. Okay, this is my stage of the process. I've gone through all the box scores. I've gone through all the recaps. I've adjusted my powering numbers. I've made my numbers for this week's games. I've looked at the openers. I've made a handful of bets myself, but there's certainly plenty of games that I haven't delved in any depth yet. So I'll do my best to answer any questions you got, but it's Monday morning. Yeah. No, I feel you. Okay, I'm going to grab this. I got you, Andrew. I got your questions, but we're going to start with the first looks from Matt Randall, who's 10-6 with his Monday looks. And we start with the Gophers. And it beat me. I beat myself up for not being on the Gophers after what you said about them early in the week. I had the notes right in front of me, and it was on my short list, and it just didn't get to a window with it. And but we have our Matt Randall going back to Minnesota in games 357, 358. We have Illinois at Minnesota. Minnesota opening at -14, and they are still there. 13.5 is a bookmaker, and BetOnline 14 everywhere else. First look on Matt Randall's card is Minnesota at home against Illinois. What do you think about that, Teddy? So if it makes you feel any better, I too had Minnesota on my short list. I too thought long and hard about playing the Gophers. I too did not pull the trigger before kickoff. And it was the first drive of the game. I'm like, I'm a freaking ass clown. And I got a little bit in game. But not the type of wager I would have made if it was pregame. I'll just put it that way. From the first drive, Minnesota was in control of that game. They're good. But we're also talking about a team who all 4 of their games this year have been decided by a touchdown or less. And when you talk about catching points with Minnesota or taking Minnesota to pick them or a -3 or a +3, it's a whole different story when you're asking this team to win by 2 touchdowns and win by more than 2 touchdowns. So at first glance, I like this Gopher team. I'll be rooting against them. I'm rooting for Illinois because I know there'll be better chances than this to get on Minnesota. And if they don't cover this game, it's going to give me an extra little bit of value. So for a gut reaction is not to lay the point. This isn't the role that I want Minnesota in, for whatever that's worth.
No, that makes perfect sense. We talk about buying low, buying high, when to do that. So after watching Minnesota destroy Purdue, that makes a ton of sense right now. All right, the next look.
And it is last thing. It is Illinois coming off a bye, and that's worth something. Once we start getting into October, And you have the team coming off a bye versus a team that's played 5 weeks in a row. That's worth something. Although the Gophers just had a bye. They have a bye last week. Let me look that up. I think they had a bye recently. So, but when you have the one team, they had the bye the previous week. So it's not like a huge bye differential between the two. But when you have one team that's played a bunch of games in a row and the other team's coming off a bye, that's a legitimate edge that should be factored into your handicap from the beginning of October on.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. And talking about these buys are extremely important. The next spot on Matt Randall's card is 367, 368. Western Michigan at Toledo. Toledo opens up at -4, down to 2 at Bookmaker, 2.5 at Pinnacle. Western Michigan, Toledo. He likes Toledo -3.5, Teddy.
If you like Toledo -3.5, you should have waited a little longer because it's 2.5 now. Look, Western. So if you watch the Western Central game on Saturday, and I know many of you did, you heard the announcer say Western Michigan's off the way after Central had all those sacks and was in the backfield in every field against Miami. They're like, Western Michigan's offensive line is better than that of the Miami Hurricanes. That offensive line is loaded. And it was. They played great. And they still didn't cover in the end against Central. But I'm a believer in that Broncos offense. And I think they're better than Toledo. So I won't be laying points with Toledo in this game.
Won't be laying points with Toledo. Let's look at this next spot. It's 359, 360. Rice looked surprisingly good Saturday, man. Rice at UAB. UAB opening at -10. They've moved to 10.5 at Pinnacle, 10 everywhere else. UAB. God, there's some great stuff done, Teddy. And when you deal with this quantity of games, you moved a lot of us into the right direction in a lot of games. And, some of the games jumping out at me, the Central Michigan spot, the staying away from UAB on Saturday. Now UAB -10 at home against Rice. What do you think here? He likes UAB to take care of business.
So Rice has been really good at mucking things up. They're just playing these ugly, ugly games, and they're doing it effectively. It's not pretty. And, I mean, honestly, UAB should annihilate this team. But at the same time, I talked about why I don't like this UAB team. This past week, they failed pretty badly in a game where, again, the box score doesn't freak you out, but it also doesn't make you think this UAB team is the type of team I want to lay doubles with. I don't want to lay doubles with UAB. That being said, I wouldn't talk. It's really not one that I'm going to try to talk you out of. After getting slapped around, I think Blazers, returning home against a team they can annihilate, they might do it. And this line, my number came out a notch or two higher than this line. Let me just check where my number came on this. What's the UAB? Come on. My number came 12.5. So it wasn't way off market. But that being said, my number came 12.5, and I'm not high on UAB. So there may be some value on the Blazers side. I think the wise guys now, there's some anti-UAB sentiment in the markets that could help you in a game like this one.
Interesting stuff. And Matt Randall saying first road game for Rice in a month. And Matt Randall's power rankings has UAB -17.5. Okay, the next spot on Matt Randall's card is UMass. UMass coming off a much better looking day for them on Saturday. +27 at FIU at Florida International. And we already see 26.5s on the board, Teddy. UMass at +27 on the road.
So I do my best to avoid betting on the very worst teams in college football. I really do. And UMass is one of those teams. But my power rating came double digits away from where this point spread is. So the only way I could bet it is UMass. I mean, I didn't make this game 20. It was 27, and my number was 17. So from a value standpoint, I could only look at the Minutemen plus. FIU's not a team to lay 4 touchdowns with. I'm with you, but that forces you to bet on one of the worst teams in college football, which is something I don't like to do because then you can't blame them for stinking. When they have their third pick 6 of the game, you can't go, oh man, you knew that's what they're capable of doing. So the lean is definitely UMass. This point spread is way out of whack with my number. I think it was one of the 2 games where my power rating number and the opening number were the farthest away It doesn't happen a whole lot, but it happened here. So I'm with you on a value standpoint for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. And then Matt Randall had the exact same number, too, at 17. All right, let's look at some of the marquee matchups, Teddy. But I also want to hear if there's any early looks that interest you. Antoine Seymour, questions coming in. I will copy and paste. But let's start with Michigan State, Ohio State. What a juggernaut Ohio State has been. And again, I'm not cashing off them, and I just beat myself up over it. I just think, the market's caught up. They know how good they are, and then sure enough, they smashed by 30 or 40 points. Michigan State, Ohio State. Ohio State opening up minus 20, now 19.5 on the board. Still 20s at Heritage and Bet Online. Ohio State, big favorites against Michigan State. What do you think here?
So I probably don't get involved in the game. If I do get involved in the game, it would only be on the underdog that plays defense. Sparty's defense is real, The problem, of course, is that Sparty's, they may not score in this game. Under might be the best way to look in this contest because Michigan State's going to try to shorten the game and Ohio State's going to try to shorten the game. And my gut reaction in this one is don't expect a whole lot of points. If you've been riding this Ohio State run to open the season, congratulations. Let it ride. I have no issue with that. But if you're going to try to jump in on a team like Ohio State, a top 5 team coming off a huge blowout win on national TV that everybody saw, these aren't your value spots in college football. So it's absolutely a one-way game for me. It's dog or pass because I haven't been riding this Ohio State. If you got the profits in your pocket, I got no problem. You ride a team till they beat you. I have no problem with that. And that's something that you should be doing in college football and every other sport. When you find a team that's not priced correctly in the marketplace, those are teams you bet every single time they play, and you can cash 4, 5, 8, 10, who knows how many tickets with a team before they lose. But if you try to jump in at this stage of the game, Ohio State is no longer priced incorrectly, and there's probably a little bit of value going the other way.
Yeah, scared to get in the way of them. And then we have one last look. Our guy Andrew wants to know about these Michigan spots. Iowa, number 14 ranked Iowa at Michigan. Michigan opening up at minus 5.5. There's still a 5.5 at plus money, but it's all the way down to 4 at Heritage. Iowa, Michigan. Any early feels, Teddy?
So 4 was my number. My strike price was 7 with the Hawkeyes and 1 with the Wolverines. So. That's where I'm at in this game. And I'm not going to see either one of those numbers. This point spread is right. I expect a low-scoring defensive scrum. The under, to me, makes a fair bit of sense in this one. Iowa wants to, dirty it up and muck it up. And not that Nathan Stanley can't throw the football, but the Hawkeyes are very comfortable in these, slobber knocker type of games. And it's not like I'm convinced that Michigan's offensive problems are solved because of what we saw against Rutgers this last week, a loss that cost the Scarlet Knights their head coach. So lean under as a first look on a Monday. We'll do a lot of reading on this one this week.
Beautiful. Leaning under early. There's already been some market moves. I want to ask you about them. First off, Texas opens up at minus 10 at West Virginia. Now 11.5s across the board. Do you agree with that market move?
And I'm a little bit surprised by it. Let me get the number. You know the betting number on that so I can find it real quick. Texas, West Virginia. I'll tell you what my number was. Give me just a second. So sorry. Sorry, I shouldn't be singing and dancing while I'm trying to talk. Come on, where's the Texas, West Virginia game?
Texas, West Virginia, 317, 318.
Okay, there it is. My number is Texas 12. So the market's moved towards my number. I didn't make a bet off the opener. Again, I like this Longhorns team. It feels a little high though, doesn't it? Then again, the fact that the Mountaineers couldn't, they had the one big blowout win at home, but the fact that they couldn't put away Kansas in Kansas, I mean, they were in control of that game with turnovers. It was more even. That definitely concerns me here against a pretty good Longhorn team with extra time to prepare.
Yeah. Interesting spot we'll be talking about all week. We've seen another 2-point move, 2.5 at some books for Utah State at LSU. LSU opening up at minus 24, now minus 26 or 26.5 at Bet Online. Is after Colorado State played Utah State so tough, is this a nice chance to buy low on Utah State, or is LSU just a juggernaut you don't want to get in the way of?
So my number is 25.5 in this game. I don't know how interested LSU is. I think Utah State's going to be real interested. So it's at first glance, I want the dog and or the over, because LSU could just chuck it all around against Utah State the way they've done. I mean, and the I watched the Aggies play the Rams, and I'll give Colorado State credit. Colorado State played pretty well, but it wasn't vintage Utah State. They've got a better game in them than the one we just saw. Although I don't know that we see it in Baton Rouge. Lean dog at first lean. This isn't something that I've come close, again, to pulling the trigger on. Again, my number is right by where the markets is. Was sitting. I made it 25.5 on the game.
We have some questions coming in from the chat. Dutch Boy Fresh says, ask Teddy, does he feel a Kansas State bounce back this weekend? Kansas State, where I just had it in front of me. I've lost it now. Do you think Kansas State bounces back after that very poor showing? Because right off the top, early in the game, they just looked like they had nothing. Baylor, Kansas State, 327, 328. Kansas State opening up at -3.5. Now twos already on the board, 2.5 at Heritage. Is this a bounce back spot for K-State?
That was a concerning performance for Kansas State. You know, I mean, because you're right. They looked unprepared from the get-go. And again, sometimes the weather delay games, your team is ready and then they're not, and then they're ready and they're jacked up, and then by the way, go sit for an hour and a half and chill, and now get your adrenaline back up. But they were in trouble even before that. So when I lose a bet on a team 1 week, my normal reaction is, okay, this isn't a team you're going to play the next week. You're not going to bet on them. You're not going to bet against them. Your read on this team was wrong. And it wasn't just kind of wrong. My read on Kansas State last week, I thought they were the better team than Okie State, and they weren't. And the Cowboys now 5-0 against the spread, and Kansas State, with all the hype, was garbage. Do they have a better game in them? Yeah. Is their opponent maybe not being valued properly? Potentially. Let's not sell this team short. Obviously, K-State, I don't think they have it easy here. And this is one I'm going to think and read, and not one I'm going to get involved with on Monday morning.
I hear that. We have questions coming in. My guy Antoine Seymour says, ask Teddy, who we got out of Duke versus Pitt, 325, 326. Duke opening up at -5. And that's where there are 5.5s now on the board. And Pinnacle's 5's at -122. So what do you think about this Pittsburgh-Duke spot?
So, I like this Duke team. We used them last week, and obviously that was as easy as it gets. There weren't many games easier than that. Nevada was easy, or Hawaii was easier than that. But that Virginia Tech was a no-show. I'm a Duke believer. Duke for me is a one-way team right now. My number's only 4. I don't know that I get to the window here.
Might be too much there. We have other questions coming in. We've already heard about Western Michigan, Toledo. Other questions coming in. We have, and we talked about that over spot right there. Okay, perfect. Teddy, what are some early looks that you have on your schedule? We have one more question coming in from Dutch Boy Fresh. So why don't I ask you about this, and then we'll hear some early looks that you might like. Dutch Boy Fresh says, Jimmy, early look, Maryland -14.5. They will smash Rutgers. Do you have a feel on this Maryland-Rutgers spot?
I don't disagree with the sentiment. I want to do some reading on how Rutgers has reacted to the firing of their head coach. Oftentimes when the head coach goes bye-bye, that next week the team gets a bump. We'll see if there's anything from Rutgers in that regard that might indicate that.
Yeah, that makes sense after that beating and the coach being fired. All right, why don't we move over to your early looks? I know these are just early looks, nothing more than that on a Monday. I assume we'll hear from Teddy. But, Teddy, what are some of the games that you like initially on Monday morning?
Oh, no, I made 3 bets already.
Oh, beautiful.
I made 3 bets off the openers. One you can't get yet in the broader market. I bet Troy, Missouri over 66. Let's see where that total comes out. That was only available here in Vegas. But that game sure feels like a shootout. Missouri's going to get theirs, and we've seen Troy already. Whenever they face a team like Missouri, they want to go up tempo. So I played the over in that game. I played Ole Miss -7. Betting number 3, and by the way, the first time betting number 3, 39, 340. Ole Miss -7 with betting number 3. 76. That's against Vanderbilt. That's already up to 7.5. I saw the sevens disappearing, and I wanted to grab one. Vandy's garbage. And Ole Miss found a little quarterback. I think there's a buy sign, perhaps, on the Rebels right about now. The other one I played was Army, number 374. Army plus, is that 374? No, sorry, 324. I can't read my own writing. Army plus the 3. I didn't think that number was still going to be there. There's still a couple of 3s out there. My market's mostly moving to 2.5. My number came there with Army as a 1-point favorite, and I thought plus 3 is too much to pass up on that. And I'll tell you right now, I'm going to be on Central. I'm going to be on Central Michigan again this week at home against Eastern. But we're going to let that line settle a little bit. That's 5.5 right now. I think there's a decent chance we see Eastern money. The markets really liked Eastern Michigan. And I'd love that bet as a touchdown. As a touchdown, I'll bet that. I might bet that pretty large. But 5.5. That's one I know I'm going to bet, but I'm just waiting for the number. So again, the 3 bets that I made was Troy, Missouri over 66. That's 339, 340. Betting number 376, Ole Miss minus the 7. That number's gone now. Betting number 324, Army plus 3. There are still a few 3s available. Those are 3 things I have in my pocket already.
I like it. Great stuff. And Raven in the Desert on your Ole Miss play. Raven in the Desert liking that under 59.5. What do you think of the total in the Ole Miss spot?
I don't want to ask Vandy to do anything for me except for lose. I don't want to ask him to score. I don't want to ask him to get stops. Gut reaction is no strong opinion on the total.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Dog Bry coming in saying, ask Teddy, is SMU for real?
I'll tell you what. Okay, when you have the team that blows through the bad spot game, and I was tweeting about this on Saturday. I'm like, so much for the bad spot for SMU. Although Charlie Strong has something to do with that. And of course, it wasn't the second quarter before all the stuff starts coming out on Charlie Strong's buyout for USF. SMU's 5-0 against the spread so far. Monsters. ATS machine so far. Hopefully you made a bunch of money with them. They're not going to go 5-0 ATS down the stretch. Are they real? Yeah, they're real. When you find the team that's impervious to the spot and they're still blowing teams out, those are teams you bet on until you lose with them. And if you're riding this SMU streak, keep riding it. That being said, what does real mean? I mean, they're not going to win the national championship. I don't think they're going to go undefeated. Maybe they'll be the part, the non-Power 5 conference school that gets there. But again, I don't want that from SMU. What I want is point spread covers, and hopefully you've gotten a couple with the Mustangs already. Although, again, the market's sleeping on SMU. That's coming on. Whenever a team covers their first 5 games, your Auburns of the world, your SMUs of the world, the markets notice.
Yeah, and they've been cashing. There is a couple more big games, but I wouldn't mind hearing a couple other things that I will ask you about. But we do have a huge match, Auburn, Florida. Auburn opening up its -3 favorites on the road, 2.5s now at most books. BetOnline and Bovada still hanging the 3. What's your early take on Auburn being road favorites at Florida?
I ain't betting against Auburn. My number had them road favorite. And I was really disappointed in this number. I'm like, wow, I got Auburn -1.5. Hopefully they'll be dogs and I'll be able to get it. No, the markets aren't sleeping on Auburn. Auburn's really good. I think Florida has a hard time in the trenches in this ball game. I think they really do. And this, it feels like a defensive scrum, feels like an under game. I trust the Gators defense a lot more than I trust their offense.
That makes sense. And then we do have Thursday action on a team we all just cashed with Temple. Temple at East Carolina. And then I made the mistake of going back with Old Dominion back-to-back weeks, and East Carolina took care of them. East Carolina at home here. It's opened at 13. BetOnline's giving us a total, too, at 47.5. Temple opened at -13, now 12.5s or 12s. Heritage still has a 13, so the market's not sure where to land here. You have any early feels on this Temple-East Carolina spot?
So, again, we're talking about a team that's in different roles, and that was a huge game for Temple against Georgia Tech. Their head coach who quit on them, and if you watch the game, I'll call it the second half wasn't misleading. The first half, Georgia Tech was even with that team, and they just made mistakes, and that's what Georgia Tech is doing right now, which is, what's going to happen when you're transitioning out of a system like you are there. You have the betting number on this one. Again, I'm looking for it and trying to, oh, there it is. It's
My
Saturday.
fault.
So my number was Temple 12 at East Carolina. It's back-to-back good games for East Carolina, and I was with you. I was surprised at the number against Old Dominion, and then I was surprised at how the game played out. And Old Dominion came out, and they looked like Virginia in the first half. They were flat early, and then came back and made things interesting in that contest. But, again, my number right near where the market number is on this one, and that means I'm at first glance I'm not liking it. I don't think I'll be on Temple in this game. I really don't. So East Carolina now 2 weeks in a row has surprised me, or played better than I thought they were, and the spot for Temple coming off that big resounding win, it's a concern for me. So it'd probably be dog or pass.
Dog or pass with East Carolina. Perfect. All right, Teddy, we got to put a bow on this show. But before I do, is there any MLB futures that you're looking at? Do you have any expectations, high expectations or low expectations for any teams in the playoffs? Or do you usually wait till the wild card has been decided? What's your feel here with the MLB playoffs around the corner?
So my gut reaction for how I'm going to approach the playoffs, I want to bet on the Dodgers in every game. I think the Dodgers are coming in focused, and I think they're the best team in the National League by a pretty wide margin. So my number one take going into the postseason is find ways to bet LA.
Yeah.
My number two take, I had another take that that's certainly worth talking about. I think that the A's-Rays winner is going to do some damage against somebody. That's my gut reaction. So let's see how that game plays out. But Dodgers on the one side, A's-Rays winner on the other side. Those are the teams that I'll be looking to support from the get-go.
And with the Dodgers, because I find if there's any team that I think can do harm to the Dodgers, it's the Braves. I don't know if the Braves can do it over a full series, but I do feel like the Braves are just a dangerous squad. With the Dodgers, it's going to trying to find value betting them early. Are you thinking about team total overs, or are you thinking about taking them on the run line? What would be your best way of finding value with a team like the Dodgers?
So when we talk about the postseason, in many ways, you're going to get yourself in trouble when you start looking at value. Think about everyone, there's great value on the Rams at +3. Postseason, pick the freaking winner, okay? Pick the better team, pick the team that's going to win the spot, and worry a little bit less about, am I getting the best of it? I'll lay whatever I have to lay with LA. I think they're going to be sweeping teams. I think they're going to, if you read some of that quotes coming out of the locker room after the last game of the season and going into the last game of the season, that they've got an axe to grind. They've got something to prove. So it's not, value is something you have to be well acquainted with throughout the long regular season, and MLB, NBA, and it doesn't matter what sport it is. When you're talking about postseason, find teams that are going to win, man. Find the good teams and bet on them, and that's the way to make money at the end of the campaign. And I think the Dodgers are really good.
They are a good baseball team. There's no doubt about that. Teddy, what a treat it is to roll with you. Catch Teddy Covers here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday mornings on Betting with the Bag. We love rolling with you, and we've heard his early looks. He's already got to the window with Troy, Missouri over 66, Ole Miss -7, Army +3. Interested in Central Michigan once that line settles. Great stuff from our Teddy Covers. Well, we need a big week all around, and I'm excited to watch your process once again. We enjoy it here immensely. Teddy Covers, can you let everybody know where we can find you on Twitter? Teddy is very active on Twitter and a great follow. Where can we catch you on Twitter, Teddy?
So hang on a second, though. You say we need a big week. It's not the way it works. We like a big week. We need to do our work, do our jobs, and let the chips fall where they may. So we're hoping for a good week. We don't need we're not going to panic if we don't have a good week. We're not going to panic. Again, it doesn't kill you to push. It doesn't kill you to take a small loss. It kills you when you blow your whole bankroll on a Saturday. But we're not going to do that. I'm pretty confident of that. Find me at Teddy_Covers on Twitter. Tons of follows. Really appreciate all the low baggers and the comments. It's awesome. So thank you, all of you who follow me, and I do my best to tweet out some opinions and a bunch of information. So that's what we try to do. So thanks.